Good evening. Thank you for joining me for a brief history on collage, as well as an overview of the various styles. In 12th century China and Japan, artists were working with an early form of collage using brightly colored paper and lacquer. The art form then spread to Europe and by the 1700s had become popular. Artist Mary Delaney was recognized for her beautiful flower specimens, which she made from hundreds of pieces of paper. By the 18th century, decoupage had become a popular pastime in Europe. People would make wall screens, panels, and fireboards. In 1912, artists Picasso and Braque took Cubism a step further when they started incorporating three-dimensional objects into their works. Post-World War I Europe saw radical changes in the way of art. A movement known as Dadaism transformed collage. Hannah Hoch was the first to use photomontage, which she did using clippings not just from paper but actual images that she cut out of mass media publications. Artists such as Max Ernst experiment with surrealism in the 1930s before we see the next movement in collage, which was the Neo-Dada period in the 1950s. The Neo-Dada movement saw artists begin to experiment with found objects, bringing them into their collage, creating dimension. And in the late 1940s, Eduardo Pelosi brings us pop art montage. Collage also saw construction sculptures, such as this one made from painted cardboard, entitled Maquette for Guitar in 1912 by Picasso. Other collage movements included canvas collage, where artists would paint canvas and then transfer those painted pieces to another canvas. And also decollage, which was more about removing pieces and using the fragments. Now we would talk about some pioneering works from collage and examples of various styles that we will cover in our Intro to Collage, Mixed Media, and Abstract Painting classes. This first piece is from George Braque, and it's from 1912, and it's entitled Fruit Dish and Glass, and it is made up from faux wood wallpaper to depict a fruit dish and glass. Also used were charcoal and gouache. And this is featured in the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Still Life with Chair Caning by Pablo Picasso features oil and oilcloth on canvas and rope and depicts a cafe view of a table, chair, and various items that might be needed, such as a knife, a napkin, a piece of fruit, and a wine glass. During the Dada movement, artist Hans Arp experimented with torn paper squares. The torn edges of the squares helped soften the shape, while the arrangement was done purely by luck with no forethought. This excellent example of photomontage is from artist Hannah Hoch with a nod to industrialized chaos. Hannah said her technique was inspired by discovering postcards that German soldiers would create when they would take their pictures and cut and paste their heads onto images of musketeers. Kurt Schwitters brought us the Cherry Picture, which is a layered collage made up of found objects, highlighting the contrast between dark and light. Examples of some of the materials used were cork, cloth, wood, bits of metal, pen and ink, old tickets, buttons, and wires that he found. And it is also at the MoMA in New York. The 1950s brought us the Blue Nudes, 1 through 4, from Matisse. This is Blue Nude number 2. It was interesting. His process involved working with a team of assistants who would paint large rectangular pieces of paper with gouache, and under his direction, of course, and then using long scissors, he would cut out his forms and then arrange his cutouts with his assistants helping him pin the composition together, and then they'd be glued down. This iconic piece from Rauschenberg features a taxidermied Angora goat covered with paint, wearing a tire around its abdomen, standing on an abstract painting made from 2 different canvases. It features oil paint, paper, fabric, metal, wood, rubber, tennis balls, 2 canvases, and of course the taxidermied goat with a brass plaque and wooden platform. This final collage is from female Kenyan-American artist Wangeki Mutu, and she uses ink, acrylic paint, crystalline particles, plastic pearls, and paper on Melanex. She explores continued effects of colonialism in her collage work and has a very powerful body of work. By now you probably have a firm grasp on the various styles of collage. Thank you so much for listening to my intro tonight, and I look forward to working with you in the classroom.